Welcome back into Sigil of Something. We're exploring how Compendium of Rathe, new cards, new set, affecting each class. This time we're diving into the Runeblade class. So, like I said earlier in these other videos, there's always a Marvel hero. Chain's the Marvel hero, which is really funny because Chain is now banned in Silver Age. So, it should be like a $5 Marvel. So if you're looking, no, not really. Chain will eventually come back to Silver Age. He'll probably torment the format, and you can have a nice shiny Marvel as you get there. Again, there is the equipment suite available. We'll talk about that in a second. And again, we get 3 new cards in that generic Runeblade. So Sigil of Rathe has go again. Enters the arena. You can banish an aura from your graveyard and then deal 1 arcane. So again, ways to chip in arcane damage. Same way that you kind of use rune chants. There's some interesting plays, things like that you can do with some of these new Runeblade cards. I can see Viserai playing this one because it's a Runeblade non-attack action. Turn on that hero ability, make additional rune chants, do things like that. Again, it's dealing that additional arcane. So things to play around with that as well. Runic Felling Song. Based on this art, you'd expect this to be an Earth Runeblade action. It's just a generic. The art is fantastic. But it's just generic Runeblade card. It's a 3 for 7. When it attacks, you may banish an aura from your graveyard to deal additional arcane damage. So some 3 for 7 seems pretty good. It's also a blue block 3 if you want, more blue block 3s in your deck. So things to play around with that as well. But again, this banishing aura from your graveyard seems to be a pretty common theme throughout these new cards, because we see it also in the Runeblade defense reaction, banish an aura from your graveyard to do 1 arcane damage. So this is very similar to Sigil of Suffering, being a 0 for 3, and then Sigil of Suffering does the 1 arcane damage, and if it deals that damage, it gets +1. So 5 value here. This is only going to be a 4 value defense reaction. So maybe down the line we see Silver Age banning Sigil of Suffering, but right now that card's illegal. Card's strong. We see Briar use it. I don't think Briar is going to use any of these cards. Maybe the Sigil. Maybe there's another Sigil that we can talk about that we could see Briar using. But again, our talented Runeblades, they're going to get access to new cards as well. The first one up is going to be the Elemental Runeblade action. So has that Earth Bond, so that insert element bond theme being used with all of our elemental cards: Ice Bond, Earth Bond, and Lightning Bond. But until the end of turn, if you create 1 or more elemental or Runeblade aura tokens, instead you create that many +1. So this is pretty good for Florian, because it's almost like Florian hero ability on the card, giving that +1 if he's turned on. It also is kind of like that Mordred Tide effect. So Viserai would like this, but again, Viserai is not elemental, so kind of hard to make that one work. But again, if you pitch an Earth card, you create an embodiment of Earth. So you could create 2 embodiments of Earth, potentially 3 off of Florian hero ability. Has go again. So there's some interesting play lines that you can set up with this. There are versions of Florian that are kind of being stack Florian, running Scepter of Pain, like we saw him torment CC with about a year ago. That was maybe 9 months ago, right after Aurora left, when he picked up a bunch of LL points there. So we'll see how that goes. Chorus of Rot Ward is going to be the Florian Earth Runeblade card. It has Decompose, create 3 rune chants. It does cost 1. It does block 2. I don't see a world where Florian really wants to use this. But again, it's a way to decompose. And I think the Earth heroes as a whole, talked about this in the Wizard one, they want to be able to decompose a little bit more freely. So this allows you to do that. So, there's some give and take with that. But, banishing 2 Earth action cards, creating embodiment Earth, that's not the worst thing to happen there. And you do get 3 rune chants at the backside. So that's there. The Lightning Runeblade, we talked about auras. More so Aurora than Briar, wanting to play things that aren't reds, but when this enters or leaves, you deal 1 arcane. So again, ways to chip arcane in. The fact that it's instant, you can do some interesting things in Aurora with the way her hero ability works, the card pool, things like that. Maybe you have a Flittering charge, you play this Sigil, you deal 1 arcane, you give the Flittering go again. You can then turn on hero ability, or you swing sword, things like that. So interesting things there. I don't think Aurora is better than Briar. Briar is probably the best thing you should be doing in Silver Age right now. And if you can't beat Briar, well, you should probably play a different deck. But I don't think Briar plays this. I do think Aurora plays this. Also, maybe they're teasing us with Aurora being a little bit more of a aura-focused Runeblade in one way or another. 2 different sigils that care about auras. Actually, 4 cards here care about auras, so to play around with that. And then we get a new Runegate card. So this is a Vinset card. You can say it's a chain card, but we're going to focus on Runegate being a Vinset thing, even though chain does use it as well. When the combat chain closes, you can banish this face down. If you do, each hero who has lost life this turn, banish a card from their graveyard. So it kind of gets at those decks that want to have that graveyard recursion in certain ways. But again, this card is very interesting for Vinset. If you can get up to those 4 rune chants to make this free from your banish zone, you can play around with some certain things there. But again, probably the best thing you should be doing in Silver Age right now is playing Briar. If you're playing another Runeblade, you have to be super confident with it. I think Aurora is close there, but again, Briar is just a better thing to be doing just because she has just a little bit better of a hero text. And then we get the equipment suite across the board. I think the one everyone's most excited about is the Beckoning Haunt because it has Guardwell and it blocks 2. Blocking 2, good. You can also, destroy this after you've blocked with it and return to target aura. Target aura, and then kind of be able to recycle in a way. So there's lots of interesting play lines, lots of ways to play this card out and create that benefit going from there. Helm of Might and Magic. I'm a big fan of the art on this card. It just has spell void 1, block 1. So maybe you block with the headpiece and then you spell void 1, after that chain resolves so that you can get the spell void value there. Again, I think Runeblades have options to better helmets in Silver Age. I don't see this card being really played at the moment, but maybe down the road we do see it. We see Arcane Barrier 1 on the chest piece though, and then destroy this in a rune chant to prevent the next 1 arcane. So ways to prevent multiple arcane damage off of this chest piece. So kind of similar to Carapace. Dyadic Carapace. That has, Arcane Barrier 2, block 2 on it. So maybe, a toned down version of that for Silver Age. But again, you're not blocking with this because it doesn't have that block value. But being able to prevent arcane damage, especially in mirrors, especially when, Briar's running rampant, there's versions of Stack Florian that are going around. We can play around with different things. And then this is very, very interesting card because you can make use of your shocks. You can make use of maybe a Sigil of Voltaris, things like that as well. If you dealt arcane damage this turn, this gets +1, so it's temper 1. So if you just block with it, normally it'd get destroyed, but you could block for 2, and then you can get additional 1 value off of that as well. So interesting, unique cards that we're seeing in these equipment pieces across the board, whether that be the Runeblades, the Wizards, the Illusionists, anything else in between. The Brutes have some really interesting pieces as well, but I don't think any of these cards directly impact any of the Runeblades that are meta, but it does help them out. It gives them a little bit more of an identity, and I think that's what Compendium is supposed to be doing for all of these heroes. Again, Briar is still the best thing you should be doing in Silver Age, so she'll be the best thing you can do until the community can ban her, and then probably Chain comes back, and then Chain will be the best thing you can do. But that's Runeblade in a nutshell.